Happy Monday morning. I am Kyle Long. Welcome to Pushing the Pile, usually with Mike Renner, but still on his honeymoon vacation. And I've been just thinking about him and his beautiful bride hanging out on a beach, drinking sangria in Santorini. But today I've got my great teammate from Tops on CBS Sports, Brock Vereen. Brock, welcome into the show, dude.
Thank you so much for having me, Kyle. Congratulations to Mike. And I don't know what to tell you, man. He's clearly set a tone that his wife comes before you. So you're going to have to deal
Yeah.
with that. I'm glad I don't have to get in the middle of that. But congrats to Mike. I'm happy to be here.
Well, you know what? Mike usually gives me help during the season when I'm like, hey, my wife needs me to help out with something at the house. Can we move the podcast from this time to this time? And he's like, oh, he rolls his eyes. And I'm like, whoa, welcome to my world, buddy. Okay. So you're going to be living that life. And you know what? We're also going to be talking about some football and some teams that are living that life. We're going to be drafting defenses. We drafted offenses last week with John Breach. It was a lot of fun. If you didn't catch that episode, you can find it. It's on the YouTube page. But today we're going to draft defenses. And since Brock is the guest, I'm going to give him the first pick. Here's how this works for those of you who are at home. We're going to go through it. Brock's got the first pick. We're going to alternate 1 through 32 with a couple commercial breaks in between. We're going to give a quick rundown on each of these teams, but this is more of a ranking than a deep dive. Sit back, grab yourself a coffee. It might not be too early for a beer for some of you. Grab it. It's Monday. Help you get through the day. Brock, get us started.
Well, when it came down to it, my gut told me one team, but I didn't want to believe that this would be the number one defense for me. And I did all the research I could, trying to convince it would be the number one overall team. And then I realized I trust my gut. It is Denver, and they support test. Obviously, right now we're just looking at things on paper, but it is the Denver Broncos. And what an offseason they've had off of an incredible season where they shook the NFL and caught people off guard. Re-signing nose tackle DJ Jones was a huge part of it, right? There were some bigger names that they brought in, but keeping that keystone was massive. I'm a big Talanoa Hufanga guy. Obviously, injuries got in the way with his tenure in San Francisco. That guy is a playmaker. He trains with Troy Polamalu. See ball, get ball. You have the best defensive player in the NFL and Pat Surtain. You have Nick Bonito. I know you're a big Nick Bonito guy. It's Denver for me.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great pick. It's a great way to lead this thing off. Nick Bonito is a guy that gives everybody nightmares, regardless of your technique, regardless of your mindset, because he's just so damn fast off the ball. When you've got a guy like that paired with who they have in the middle, the guys on the back end, it's no surprise that this team is the cream of the crop. And with the number 2 pick, a lot of people would expect me to go Philadelphia Eagles, but I'm going to go with the guys just up the road, just up 95 in Baltimore. And when I say just up 95, I'm from Virginia. So everybody's just a little north of where I'm at in Virginia. And the Baltimore Ravens, they stop the run. That's one thing that they are the best in the league at. When you can stop the run, you force a team to be one-dimensional. The way that they struggled last year was against the pass, Brock. And what is one thing they did to address some of those issues on the back end, bringing in Malachi Starks, pairing him with Kyle Hamilton. That back end's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, the middle of the field is patrolled by one of my favorite football players in the NFL, Roquan Smith. And you know the front seven is going to play like a bunch of dogs. That's just what they do in Baltimore. I've got them at number 2. What you got?
I love that pick. I'm upset that you took them. I was hoping you would take Philly so that I could snag Baltimore. You talk about that defensive front. How about this? Madubuike, Van Noy, and Owe combined for 22.5 sacks last year. You can't do anything with that. Kyle Van Noy, by the way.
Van Noy, there's something in the
Talk
water.
about aging like wine, man. Aging like fine wine. He's been incredible. And yes, on the back end, Baltimore is so fascinating to me. And their defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, who was in his first year as a defensive coordinator a year ago, admitted this. The first half of the year, we didn't know what the heck was going on. Guys are playing different coverages. Why is Marlon Humphrey over there? Why is Nate Wiggins over there? They're playing two different. Nobody knew what the heck was going on. But Nate Wiggins got a year under his belt. Marlon Humphrey cemented at that nickel spot. Watch out for Robert Longerbeam, by the way. They got him out of Rutgers. He's definitely going to crack his way through. A DB from Rutgers is always a good pick. And Kyle Hamilton is the most versatile player in the NFL. If he's on your side, you're good. Baltimore's a good pick. Here's where I'm already rolling the dice because I have to go off of gut. I have to go off of gut, and even though the paper says one thing, my gut says Houston. Give me the
Yeah,
Houston
I love that
Texans
pick.
as the next defense. Now, they traded for CJ Gardner Johnson. Here's why this changes everything. He is a locker room tone setter. Yes, he can get a little wild. Yes, he doesn't stick around one place for too long because
You need a guy like
sometimes
that.
guys but you need a guy like that. You just need a crazy Florida dude. You know this more than anything. Just get a
That's
crazy guy
what,
from Florida.
dude. That's
Here's the
great.
thing
You're a
about
GM now.
Houston.
You're a GM now, Brock.
Just draft all the crazy Florida guys. Here's the thing about CJ Gardner Johnson. He raises everyone to his level of insanity. Yes, sometimes it gets out of hand, but that's what Houston needs. Houston's too nice, right? Like you look at CJ Stroud, you love him. You look at Tank Dell, hope he's healing up great. You love him. But
Daniil Hunter, nice guy. Will
nice
Anderson seems
guy.
like a great guy.
All these nice guys, we need some Florida energy in there, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So he's coming in. How about this new linebacker room? They signed EJ Speed, one of the tackling machines, to stand behind Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., who have 23 sacks combined. Will Anderson Jr., the only bad thing about him being on the same team as CJ Stroud is people will always overlook how great he is for how young he is because CJ is phenomenal. Jalen Petre's going to be there at the nickel. And how about Derek Stingley, who was making a case for Defensive Player of the Year before Pat Surtain finished the year so strong? I'm taking Houston, man. They are going to be phenomenal this year.
Yeah, I love that pick. I'm actually in the same way that you were pissed about my Ravens pick. I'm a little bit pissed about your Houston pick because obviously this team has a certain swag about it with their head coach and particularly the defense and the way that they play. And I know you said that they're nice guys, and we're not taking anything away from their
No.
style of play because they're attacking, they're aggressive, they have the ability to play both run and pass. But it's those edge rushers that keep people up at night. And that is the engine that makes that machine go down in Houston. I love that pick. And with this pick, I'm going to go with a team that has really never let me down if I'm going to be betting on their defense. And that's the Vic Fangio-led Philadelphia Eagle defense. Now, I know that they had some pieces out the building, and that's the cost to be a boss. Oh, you know what I'm saying? That's how it happens in the National Football League. Milton Williams out the door. They have, a lot of youth and guys moving around on the back end, but you saw that come to fruition immediately with success last year with guys like Cooper DeJean stepping up. But he's going to have the opportunity to go to and fit into a role. And you're going to talk more about this as a secondary guy. He's going to have the opportunity to go play the role that he is more comfortable with in Fangio's defense. Guys like Jordan Davis are going to have to step up. You're looking at the health of a guy like Nakobe Dean at the second level. When is he going to be able to play? Well, they went and drafted Jahad Campbell to stand in there next to Zach Bond. Zach Bond, a guy who was on the line defender in New Orleans, moved off the ball in Philadelphia, was a guy who came out of literal left field and was in the Defensive Player of the Year race. And I said this a number of times on our show. If he was a more well-known guy, if that name rung more bells league-wide, like let's say a Fred Warner, his play last year would have garnered, at the very least, debate at the Defensive Player of the Year spot. I love this Eagles team. Their style of play on offense lends itself to a physical style of play on defense as well. A guy like Nolan Smith is looking to get more opportunities of rushing the passer. The Eagles, man, this is Howie Roseman's show. It's his world. We're just living in it.
We knew going into the draft, the Eagles are going to land someone that they have no business landing. And of course, it's Jahad Campbell, who will be thrown in the fire pretty early, right? We don't know the health situations of Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith. We don't know the health situation of Jahad, actually, but it's looking like he should be good to go. Health permitting, this is far and away the most accomplished defense, obviously coming off a Super Bowl ring, obviously realizing how disruptive that defensive line was. It's all health permitting, but if they're healthy, it's going to be a disaster. You mentioned Cooper DeJean moving to safety. The only hesitance I have is it's out of necessity, not necessarily because they want him to. And I don't know what that cornerback depth looks like, but I know that whoever they put out there, they're being coached by Vic Fangio. They're going to be fine. So even if there's some growing pains early on, it's the Eagles. They're going to figure it out, and they're going to get healthy at the right time down the stretch when it matters most. And that is what matters. This next pick, I'm going as much for the defensive coordinator as I am with the players. It is chaos. The only rule is that there are no rules, and I don't care how long you've been playing football. If you are a quarterback playing this Vikings defense, you don't know what the heck's going to happen.
Yep.
So give me Minnesota and give me the Brian Flores chaos. Now, they lose Cam Bynum, and this Brian Flores defense, for those who don't know, is 3 safeties out there basically all the time, whereas you have a standard nickel that's a cornerback body shape. It's 3 safeties. It's like a 7-on-7 defense almost, but they trust their guys up front so much to win, even though they're always outnumbered because of the schemes that he can drop. And Cam Bynum was great at that, so they're going to have to replace him. They signed Jonathan Allen. They've re-signed Byron Murphy Jr. They signed Javon Hargrave. Of course, they bring back Hitman Harry for 1 more year. AVG, Andrew Van Ginkel, what a year he had.
Guy's unbelievable.
23.5 sacks combined from Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, just from Jonathan Grenard and AVG. 23.5 sacks. They just have these amoebas. This Josh Metellus. What position does he play?
Yeah.
I watch him every game. I can't tell you exactly. Ivan Pace Jr., another one. What position does he play? He plays football. So they have guys. The only question mark here is probably cornerback. But the good thing about this defense is you don't have to cover for long. So whether it's the Jeff Okudah resurgence, it's Mekhi Blackman, Isaiah Rodgers probably gets bumped into nickel. There'll be some growing pains there, but the fact is it's Brian Flores, and they don't have to do much other than cover for 1.5 seconds. So give me the Minnesota Vikings. I like it.
Yeah, you know what? I used to hate to have to prepare for a group like the Minnesota Vikings because of just their multiplicity, their ability to, as you so eloquently said, become an amoeba and play in, play out. You can get a different front, a different look, a different pressure package. You could be getting external, internal, a sick, twisted combination of both of those things. I would hate
Brian Flores is a sick man.
I'd hate to play the Minnesota Vikings.
It's what we say every Sunday. Brian Flores is a sick man with sick thoughts, and thank God he found football, because who knows what else he'd be doing with that madman brain of his.
Tell you what, offensive linemen hate him more than 2A, and I've heard the comments. Okay. And with the next pick and the last pick of our first segment here, I'm going to go with a team that I'm just in love with the team. Okay. I love not only the stadium that they play in, I love the fans that cheer for them every time they take the field. I love some of the stories about their players. And I love that we've got some drama this year with this team. I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills. Okay. I love the Buffalo Bills. And there's a lot of questions, obviously, about this group. They can't rush the passer. They struggle on the back end sometimes in coverage. Well, they address both of those things defensively this offseason, bringing in Hoyt and bringing in Maxwell Hairston in the draft. So you get a guy on the back end, you get a guy on the front end. Now, they have 2 players, 2 defensive linemen. They're going to miss 6 games because of PEDs. Yeah. Bosa, calf, already a deal. You bring in Joey Bosa, it's like, oh, amazing. By the way, I want to make a point about the Joey Bosa thing. Where do old people go when they get old if they have the funds? They go somewhere warm, right?
Florida, Arizona,
Arizona, Southern California if they were in the entertainment business. But I'll tell you what, Joey Bosa, he went north and he went east, and he went by a giant body of water that is cold. There's a waterfall that's like frozen half the year. He's a guy who has dealt with injury. When you're at that point in your career, you want to be somewhere warm, Arizona, Florida, somewhere. You go to Buffalo, you run the risk of having these soft tissue injuries. We saw Joey Bosa have one immediately upon arrival in Buffalo. But here's the thing. This is why I'm talking trash about Buffalo, but I'm setting up when is Buffalo in question, their success, the playoffs? Right. Not the first 6 games of the season.
No.
As a matter of fact, if I was Brandon Beane, I'd be like, all you guys should get on PEDs, miss the first 6 games of the season. We can all get we can all get fined, miss 6 games, and then come back, and we can just give a Herculean effort to finish the season. I'm telling you, there's some science behind the pick of having the Buffalo Bills at number 6 here in our draft. They got guys who are literally proven to be on PEDs, okay? And Joey Bosa, who's going to be fresh.
Kyle, I just have to ask, Who's gonna play you in the movie? Because when they do Moneyball Part 2, when you change how people construct an NFL team, you're gonna be Brad
Get him
Pitt,
on
who's
the juice,
Jonah
buddy.
Hill's in there too, right? Saying, "Hey guys,
People
juice it
already
up,
think that steroid use is
juice it up."
ubiquitous in the NFL, which it's not, by the way. Like,
Right?
I didn't take it. You don't take it.
No,
None of that stuff.
no,
But I'll tell you what, if they're already saying it, you may as well just be like, all right, like, we'll call
yeah,
your bluff. We're going to miss some games. But
yeah.
you know what? You know what? You know when the last time I watched baseball was?
What's that?
Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. Barry Bonds.
The golden age.
I'm just saying. Give Josh Allen steroids. You will never turn your TV off.
I will say this about Buffalo. I love what last year was supposed to be a rebuild year, right? By Buffalo Bills standards. When you have Josh Allen, you're never rebuilding. You're always pushing for something.
And
But
Milano was hurt.
defensively, it blew me away, man. I mean, DeMar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp on the back end, everyone kind of rolled their eyes and said, let's see how this goes. They were incredible. They shut everyone up immediately. They were awesome. Now, they bring back Tre'Davious White to that cornerback room, probably more of a depth spot. Dane Jackson back there, Cam Lewis back there. But for the most part, I love how deep they are at corner. Are there a lot of cornerback ones in there? No, but if you got 6 cornerback 2s, you don't need a cornerback
right.
1. You're rotating guys. Guys are fresh, and that's going to be very important in that division, chasing those fast guys in Miami everywhere. I also love Matt Milano. Obviously, last year was an unfortunate one. He just couldn't really stay healthy. But as far as off-ball linebackers are considered, you're not going to find a more instinctive guy. I was hoping I could steal Buffalo during segment 2, but you beat me to it. Congratulations.
They're a fun team. Brock, that's a fun exercise. We've got a couple more coming here. So if you're at home, make sure to get yourself a little snacky poo. We'll be back right after the break with round 2.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
All right, back at it. Hope the snacky poo was good. Hope it was quick. If you're still eating, make sure that there's no crumbs on the couch because your wife will hunt you down. Okay, with the 7th pick, Brock Vereen.
I've established that I'm going off of my gut, and even though on paper, the first time through, I kept trying to put this team further down because I'm so unsure of what kind of year they're gonna have, and I couldn't look at their defense being ranked higher than a lot of teams that I feel are gonna succeed much more than them. But we're going with our gut, Kyle. And I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm trying not to overthink this. Defensive coordinator Terrell Austin has established that as long as Mike Tomlin is the head coach of this team, he is going to give me the tools or any other defensive coordinator the tools to compete. And they're always going to compete. Now, again, obviously, you got Aaron Rodgers. This is a new look offense. Does anybody have them pushing for a Super Bowl? Probably not. But this defense is going to be at a Super Bowl caliber. I love what they did. They signed Darius Slay. Veteran, experienced cornerback, was a very thin position for them a year ago. Juan Thornhill, snagging Juan Thornhill out of Kansas City. This guy just balls, strong safety, free safety, nickel. He can do anything. And of course, up front, you have Keanu Benton and Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward had 8 sacks in his 14th season in the NFL. This guy is Hall of Fame bound. Rookie Derek Harmon, I'm excited to see him. Oh, yeah, and how about TJ Watt? How about TJ Watt? How about the 3-man rotation? TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig, who got some very good reps when Alex Highsmith went out with injury. I mentioned the cornerback position on the back end and how thin it was a year ago, but their safety position is so deep. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Deshaun Elliott, rookie Sebastian Castro from Iowa can do a lot of things. They're going to make it work. It's not as sexy as Pittsburgh usually is. Obviously, the story of this year is going to be about their offense, but I see their defense making a whole lot of noise.
Okay. I love this pick, and for many of the reasons that you just stated, but for one in particular, you mentioned one guy by the name of Aaron Rodgers. And one thing that this team has struggled with is being able to string these drives together, which leaves your defense out there on the field, and they got their tongues hanging out. And these dragon slayers at the end position, the outside linebacker position, they don't have enough juice to get home as much as they should be. And they're still getting home a lot. Imagine if Aaron Rodgers can string some drives together. Imagine if this offense can put some points on the board. Put that Pittsburgh Steelers front-facing edge rushing group out with their ears pinned back and know you're going to pass the ball. Watch what happens then. I love what you said about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to go with a group that has a ton of experience, and you talked about picking a group because of coordinator first and then talking about the personnel. Well, I'm going to pick a group that's led by a brilliant man by the name of Steve Spagnuolo in Kansas City, the Chiefs defense. There will always be questions about the Kansas City Chiefs. Year in, year out. It's a nature of being up at the top of the mantle. Offensively, defensively, when's Andy Reid going to be done? Do they have enough money to retain all these superstars? Well, at the end of the day, you still got to figure out a plan to block number 95, Chris Jones. And as a guy who has attempted to do that, and, by a very lucky stroke of luck, I got it done a couple times. That's what it is. It's luck. It's not something that you can just prepare to do. So, and I was pretty darn good at it. A lot of guys aren't. And when you play number 95, you're going to get beat more often than you're not. He makes up for a lot going on in that defensive room. When you talked about the attacking style of defense that the Minnesota Vikings had, it reminds me of the Kansas City Chiefs. There's so many ways that they can skin the cat defensively, and Spags knows which buttons to press. Now, he is without some veteran leadership on the back end. Obviously, Justin just went from Kansas City to New Orleans, and there's going to be a hole to fill there. But they've got youth. They've got the guy in the building by the name of Brett Veach, who's in charge of everything. He's the general manager, and he does a fantastic job, like Howie Roseman, bringing in the right guys for his coaches to develop. I love the Kansas City Chiefs, and it starts right there with number 95 in the middle.
I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not mad about that. My gut is always going to say, if you lose both of your starting safeties, you're toast next year. It changes everything. It changes communication. Now the linebackers have to relearn someone else. Now the corners have to relearn something else. But the fact is, it's Spags. And if anyone is going to make it work, it's going to be Spags. I want to throw out two rookies that people should not sleep on. Obviously, you have Karlaftis, you have Chris Jones, you have O'Menahue, you have Mike Dana, you have endless pass rushers, and they added two more. Jeffrey Bossa from Oregon and Austin Gelati from Louisville. One of those two is going to see a whole lot of time. Both of them are capable of it. I've
heard about Gelati. I've heard a lot of really good things about Gelati. People see his tape and they're like, what the hell? This guy's just a dog.
Monster, and can play multiple spots, which is why I kind of give him the inside track. Obviously, Bossa went to Oregon. They had more success in Louisville. I get it. Don't sleep on Gelati. I covered a game of his. They're playing Indiana. He would be at stand-up edge. He would have his hand in the ground at a 5 technique. He could play nose. He could play D-tackle, or in other words, a Spags guy, right? What more can you do for me? I like the Kansas City pick. I am going to go. It's between two teams for me right now, two NFC teams, and I know that whichever one I don't pick, you're going to take. But I have to put the Seattle Seahawks in here.
Wow.
Give me the Seattle Seahawks, a very, very slept-on defensive front from a year ago. All right, Jaron Reed, Byron Murphy II, who had a fantastic rookie year. Leonard Williams, 16 combined sacks. Leonard Williams had the bulk of them. But in a 3-4 defense, Cal, 16 combined sacks in a 3-4 defense from your 3D lineup is nuts. Obviously, you have a lot of sacks. You have a monster of a division. You have a division that's going to run the ball a lot. So to able to snag 16 sacks, I can't overlook that. Also, the best move they made was trading for Ernest Jones IV from the LA Rams, who desperately missed him. You saw how the Rams couldn't stop Saquon Barkley or really any running backs toward the stretches because Ernest Jones is now playing for the Seattle Seahawks. On the back end, Reek Woolen coming into his own. Josh Jobe, Devin Witherspoon sliding into that nickel position. He's eventually going to be a safety. I don't know what they're waiting for. The guy just needs to be in the middle of the defense around the ball. But for now, nickel will do. Julian Love, and one of my most intriguing rookies that was drafted, Nick Emenwari, positionless. Yep. Absolutely positionless. You cannot put a label on him. And defensive coordinator Aiden Durd is going to find a way to maximize his potential. I know who you're going to take next, and it's going to kill me, but I have to trust it here. I'm going with Seattle.
I'm convinced that you don't know who I'm going to take because you said it was NFC teams. Now I have a bevy of NFC teams in my hopper ready to go here. Obviously, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row NFC teams, but I'm going to go with an AFC team here.
Okay.
I believe they're an AFC team. The New York Jets.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm going to go with the New York Jets. I love when a new coach comes in and just sets the bar effing high for effort, for camaraderie, for football, for no bullshit. And I'll tell you what, Aaron Glenn is a no bullshit guy, and they've had a lot of bullshit in New York. And as it tends to happen, Brock, we work there every weekend. We know how it goes. The New York Jets got a quarterback by the name of Justin Fields. Now, he doesn't do a lot of talking, which plays right into the hands of Aaron Glenn and his leadership. I think it also plays into the fact that they're going to beat teams with what their defense does. Justin Fields is going to be asked not to turn the football over. They're not going to light up the scoreboard, and it's going to look more or less like an early 2000s baseball score, 14-17. 21 to 13.
How many steroid era references can we make today?
Dude, I think it's something in the water. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The Jets have great players at all levels of their defenses. And usually defenses are like when I talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, I just talked about Chris Jones, which is kind of unfair to the rest of the field here. But I've seen firsthand what he can do. When I look at the Jets, there are guys that you have to put the red circle around in the prep meeting on Wednesday. There's 4 guys you got to circle. How do you prepare for a defense like that? They're all trying to prove themselves to their new head coach and their defensive leader. They've been yearning for leadership since their head coach / defensive coordinator was ridiculously let go last year for a defense that was top 5, top 3, I would argue. Give me the Jets at 9 or whatever pick we're at, 10.
Yeah. I mean, as far as to your point of elite guys at each level, Will McDonald, 10.5 sacks in his second year. Jamie and Sherwood, third leading tackler in the NFL. Yes, they lose CJ Mosley, and he's a captain, but Jamie and Sherwood, that's your room now. That's your defense, and he's going to step up to that challenge. And, of course, Sauce Gardner didn't have the all-pro year that people were expecting for him to build off of. But it's still Sauce Gardner, and he will get back to action under Steve Wilkes. So, okay, Jets, I like it. Let me go back up and snag the team I thought you were going to take just because you are such a big fan of their head coach. The Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
First-time defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard, longtime NFL linebacker and linebacker coach for Detroit, steps up into the fold. Obviously, Aaron Glenn is off east to the Jets. So here's what the Lions do. They sign DJ Reed, bring him over from the Jets to replace Carlton Davis. They lose safety Ifeatu Melifonwu, but they cash out Kirby Joseph, making him the highest paid safety at the time.
Love Kirby Joseph. Used to hate him. Love him.
He doesn't have a lot of fans in the NFL.
God, I used to hate him. And now I'm like, can I phantom right in for all pro? Because I know nobody else will.
At strong safety, Brian Branch was playing nickel. Last year, they bring in a couple of rookie cornerbacks, and the expectation was, okay, they're trying to find a way to move Brian Branch to a true safety spot. That's exactly what they've done. They've officially moved him there. Here comes the health situation, right? Obviously, they were down to their 4th and 5th string literally last year coming down the stretch. How many of those guys are going to heal up in time to be the best version of themselves? I say they're ready to go by playoffs. Who cares? Right?
Yeah.
I'm telling Aiden Hutchinson, who is out there practicing and everything, hey, if you don't feel 100%, rest. We got guys. We got time. We're going to make the playoffs. If we have to sneak in as the last wild card, it's fine. We would rather be healthy at the right time, which is the plan for Malcolm Rodriguez, I believe. They said, hey, late season return. We are not rushing Malcolm Rodriguez. So, yes, they're banged up, but when they are healthy, they're going to be scary.
The
Alex
cavalry
Anzalone, Jack
will
Campbell,
arrive.
they will arrive at the right time. And I'm not mad at this young cornerback room. Now, your Ennis Rakestraws, your Terrion Arnolds, really grabby, pretty grabby, very grabby. That was last year. You would just run around with your heads cut off, put your hands behind your back, put on boxing gloves, get old school, stop grabbing people. They're going to figure it out. And I love that they add Avonte Maddox for some depth as well, probably to take that nickel spot that Brian Branch just left. Kelvin Shepard, first-time defensive coordinator. Let's see what you got. Detroit Lions.
I love the Lions pick, but I will say this. I had him at number 9 in my original mock-up, but then I started going through the roster and all the injuries they've had and all the guys who are, they're banking on them returning as they were before physically and from a production standpoint. I just know how much a guy like Aiden Hutchinson means to this defense, and without Aaron Glenn, without the superpower of Ben Johnson on the offensive side of the ball, without teams being gotta have it situations on the offensive side of the ball, I still love the pick of where you took him. I had him even higher than this if Aiden Hutchinson didn't get injured, obviously.
Yeah.
So my next pick is going to maybe shock some people. I mean, it could shock some people. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers.
Oh.
I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. I like the Green Bay Packers a lot. Now, I hate the Packers, obviously, for
other
all
reasons.
things. But I really like this unit. And I think a full season with a guy like Edgerrin Cooper on the field, being able to match the type of production he had last year. If you look at his stat sheet or his stat list, and I went through it with John Breach a couple of weeks ago on breakout players. I said, well, I mean, if he plays a full season and matches his production, he's going to be an all-pro. He'll be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Kenny Clark, his health is going to be really important. That's a guy that I played against when he first came in the league. And from Jump Street, from a technique standpoint, from an effort standpoint, from an instinct standpoint, he showed me that he was really one of the top guys in the league immediately. Those kind of traits stick with you throughout your career. And if you're healthy enough, you can go out and produce. Kenny Clark, I fully anticipate being able to produce. I like that this Packers defense is kind of at a crossroads now in the secondary room.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to figure out their identity, and they're going to have guys step up. I think that the offense is obviously a really good unit. They're still looking for a number 1, and they might have got it in the draft, and Jaden Reed might step up. But I think they're going to score a lot of points regardless, maybe to like 8 different guys on offense. But the defense is going to have an opportunity to go prove themselves to be where we picked them here. And what is this, the 12th pick in the draft? I mean, there are a number of really good teams yet to be picked, but I'm projecting as to what I think the Packers will be this year. And I think that they're going to be the 12th best defense in the league.
Obviously, you lose Jair Alexander. Well, you get rid of Jair Alexander. That's 2 different things. And they're going to get tested early. Any quarterback who plays them in the first month is saying, we're just chucking that football and seeing what these cornerbacks got. But you have Xavier McKinney back there and his 8 interceptions from a year ago. You remember the first 5 weeks of the year? I think he had 5 interceptions, something like that. And he's licking his chops, saying, hey, young guys, I got your back. Let them test you. I'm behind you. You can play confident. So we figure it out. At the end of the day, they have defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, maybe my favorite defensive coordinator in the NFL right now. He just puts guys in position to succeed, and he will need to do just that. Okay, Green Bay. I am going to go with a team that has not been out of the spotlight for never anything positive. But I can't overlook Jim Schwartz and that Cleveland Browns defense.
Yeah.
I can't possibly take another team and then have Cleveland get picked thinking, man, I probably should have taken them. It's going to be an uphill battle. Are they going to be on the field a lot? Yep, but they're always on the field a lot, Kyle. Ever since the last Baker Mayfield year, obviously Joe Flacco had that magical year, but we all knew it was going to run into a wall eventually. But outside of that, they just spend the majority of the game on the field. Their offense is going to look completely different this year. But it's Jim Schwartz, and they're going to find a way. You flirt with Myles Garrett, or Myles Garrett's flirting with leaving, begging to leave, and then you give him a check that he can't refuse. That's always going to help. They bring over Joe Tryon-Shoyinka from Tampa Bay, who was overshadowed in Tampa Bay. I feel he's going to establish himself. The issue is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah placed on PUP. He had that scary lower neck, high back injury, and he's not going to play this year. Obviously, that's a huge issue and a bigger issue than just this season. Hopefully, he can live a fulfilling life if he needs to call it, or if he does come back, make sure it's time to come back and not rush anything. But rookie Carson Schlesinger, I have him coming out of UCLA and immediately taking the place. Carson Schlesinger is going to turn heads. I thought he was a first-round linebacker. I thought the only better linebacker than him was Jihad Campbell. And I'm shocked that both of them slipped, but I'm shocked that Carson slipped to the second round. And this is a DB room that is phenomenal. Veteran guys, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, a bunch of first-round guys who can absolutely ball. Is Cleveland going to win a lot of games? No. Is Cleveland going to cause mayhem and make sure your offense doesn't score a lot of points even if you beat them? Yes.
I love that pick. And I mean, always bet on Schwartz because that dude produces defenses, angry, nasty, attacking defenses that start with the defensive line. That's always the way he's done it. And it lends itself to success. Now, can they couple that with some semblance of an offense? That's what remains to be seen. For me, the next pick is one that I know will have some semblance of an offense. And you talked about being an attacking group. And I think that this unit I'm about to name, the Los Angeles Rams, have an extremely talented attacking unit. Okay, their front got even better.
I thought I could get them later, Kyle.
Their front added Puna Fort. We love Puna Fort. The guy didn't even have to move houses. He just went up the 405 a little bit to the Rams facility. Fisk, Turner, Verse, linebacker room, Byron Young. There's a number of guys in there who can really go for this Rams group. The question is in the secondary. The great thing is with Matt Stafford and Devontae Adams, you're going to be scoring points offensively. And they've got a number of guys who can go offensively for them. You're going to have the opportunity to rush the passer. They've got real man-eaters on the defensive front. And I think that they will rush the passer. It'll be an X factor for this team. Give me the Rams.
I thought for sure I could get them later, man. That's absolutely killer. No, you're so right, because what the Rams have is the momentum of, hey, world, you saw what this defensive front and a bunch of first-year, second-year guys did to some dang good football teams. Watch out as they get another year of experience under their belt. We got guys training with Aaron Donald in the offseason.
Come on.
Apparently, it's just an open door policy. If you just show up to Aaron Donald's house, if you can just get his address and find where he lives,
show up with some knives.
Show up with some knives. He's ready to go. Yeah. One thing I do want to point out, because I love pointing out rookies that people need to keep eyes on. Nate Valcarcel came out of Northern Illinois. I doubt they even drafted him. I'm pretty sure he was a free agency signing. There are some established names in the secondary, but by no means are any spots outside of Akila Witherspoon's not up for grabs. Do not be shocked if by midseason you see the name Nate Valcarcel. He is special. Okay.
I got a question for you about Northern Illinois.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you and I were on the Bears together in 2014,
yep,
there was a quarterback that got drafted. It was probably in 2014. It might
Jordan Lynch.
Jordan Lynch from Northern Illinois.
Heisman finalist, Jordan Lynch, I think.
Take it away. Give me your Jordan Lynch stuff, because he was an amazing guy to watch.
So Jordan Lynch was the second coming of Tim Tebow, and it's not just because he's a buff white quarterback who could run. Jordan Lynch he could do everything. Northern Illinois made it to the Orange Bowl that year, and obviously a MAC team has to really turn heads. This was before the playoffs, where you could play your way in. It was you had to turn heads and get votes. Jordan Lynch was a Heisman finalist, could do anything, put the team on his back to beat teams that people thought they had no business beating. He could do.
He was the
all.
guy that the TV was on Saturday night in the team hotel in the NFL when we were like betting. Like I bet Jordan Lynch goes over 100 rushing yards too, or something like that.
Oh my God! Yeah.
The point of this is the crazy thing about the league is Jordan Lynch shows up and with another 50 guys who are rookies for rookie camp, and you're like, oh, that's the quarterback from Northern Illinois. It was a Heisman finalist. It could do no wrong. It was a badass, consummate pro. And he's like the fifth guy in the rookie minicamp drills, like not even the first guy. Yeah. That's the scary thing about the NFL.
Yeah.
That I just realized. And I remember running, I'll never forget this, running warm-ups, stretch lines next to Jordan Lynch and being like, damn, he's impressive and he moves really well and he's a great guy. And he was obviously a great football player, but he'll probably never see the field. Yeah. It's just wild how different it is.
It is.
Okay. So who did you just pick? You just picked I picked the Rams. We went Browns, Rams.
The Rams. So I am going to have to snag. Ooh, I'm torn here. I'm going to go with. Give me the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
give me the Dallas Cowboys. Give me Matt Eberflus revenge tour. Not many positive things have been said about Matt Eberflus for the past couple of years. He's going to shut a whole lot of people up. He's strictly focusing on the defense. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this offense, obviously, it's going to all revolve around Dak, but they're going to find a way to stay on the field. They're going to be able to run the ball well enough. Obviously, you have CeeDee Lamb. You got guys. You have George Pickens. So, yeah, I'm over here trying to second guess it. Nope, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. They traded for Kyer Elam. Maybe he can provide some depth to a really injured cornerback room. You need to get Trayvon Diggs healthy. Deron Bland needs to get back to the interception machine that he's been. One thing I love about Dallas, outside of obviously Micah Parsons, who needs to be paid, by the way, is they are deep. They probably have the deepest safety room in the NFL. Like, there's guys like Wanye Thomas who would be starting at the majority of NFL teams who are just kind of in the rotation at Dallas. They are deep there, and they're deep at the pass rush as well. But they have to get healthy. DeMarvin Overshown back-to-back seasons injured. So it's more of a potential pick. Yeah, it's more going off of potential if things go right. But I can't pass up Dallas. Matt Eberflus is about to get his name back in the good graces of the league.
You know what? And I love that tip of the cap to Matt Eberflus, because last week I went on CBS Sports HQ down here in Fort Lauderdale, and they asked me about the Bears. They were doing a segment about the Bears. They said, what was the biggest loss of the offseason? And I said, Matt Eberflus, not the head coach, but the defensive coordinator.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lot to be desired of the head coaching department there, but as a defensive coordinator, when it's proven that you can lead groups that play well week in, week out, despite injury, despite youth, that is telling of a good coach. And now he gets an opportunity to only solely focus on the defense, on what you were talking about as a redemption, Renaissance tour for Matt Eberflus. It's going to be fun. And if you're going to bank on a guy having a good season that you don't know much about, bet on Jack Sanborn, who was a Chicago Bear, and now he's a Dallas Cowboy. He's going to get some sand burn. Okay. I'll be here all week. Okay, so you already took the Browns. I'm going to go with – so your potential – you were talking about the potential that this defense has, makes me want to jump up and get the Giants. I really want to jump up and get the Giants, but I'm not going to get the Giants. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers because we kind of know what we got there. I feel like it's just an older version of last year's group minus Joey Bosa. And, Joey Bosa obviously is in Buffalo with a calf strain. But they got a ton of production out of Tuli Tuipulotu.
There you go.
Last year, when he filled in. And if you ever want to see Cinderblock play football, go watch Tuipulotu. Okay, because he is a leverage.
The Samoan cinder block. I like it.
He is a leverage machine. He's like somebody filled up a bag of sand in one of those, like, those sacks that you do races in? Fill that with sand and try to move it. It's really hard. And if it's coming at you at high speed, you're not going to be able to stop it. He rushes the passer great. He's going to fill right in. And he did so last year when he was asked to play for that group. So Khalil Mack is back. You and I both know Khalil Mack is an ageless wonder. One of these guys that continues to show up and is healthy and is a part of that defense, obviously a leader. When I think about the type of football that they're planning to play, they're going to pound people up front on the offensive line. They're going to throw deep bombs, and they're going to play good, solid defense. It starts with the pass rush. With guys like Mack and Tooley, they're going to be getting after it. And obviously, the back end is a talented group, and I can let you talk about the back end of this defense.
Yeah, and the fact that back end added in Benji St. Juste from Washington, a guy who's going to be rotating in. They lose Christian Fulton to Kansas City, but Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still out of Notre Dame and Maryland, respectfully, young guys who can ball. Now you get a vet in Benji. They're going to be special. You have Bud Dupree rotating in with Tooley and Khalil Mack. You got guys there. And Deion Henley, by the way.
Yep.
I don't know what he's listed as. He's not a centimeter over 5'11". Short guy, wears number 0, flying all over the place. A Harbaugh guy through and through. 84 tackles a year ago. Expect him to build upon that and become a household name as an off-ball linebacker by year's end. Who do I got for you?
Oh, wait, hold on. I picked the Chargers, so you're going to have to save that pick because we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got to finish drafting NFL defenses. Here's where you win, the sleepers. Stay tuned. All right, don't let me stop you, Brock. You were about to give us the 17th pick in the defensive draft.
And it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of reach by many standards, but hear me out and let me plead my case. First off, how about a Hall of Famer, Levante David, coming back to play some linebacker? If he is at the center of your defense, you have a shot. How about potential Hall of Famer Vita Vea right there in the center of your defense? No gloves, no undershirt.
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it.
Just skin. Just a big guy out there with skin showing. I love the disruptors. That's what Tampa Bay is. A bunch of disruptors. How about Antoine Winfield? A positionless guy. All 5'9" of them grew up in the NFL. Knows exactly where to be. He can cover. He can get sacks. He always leads the NFL in sacks from a DB. He can do it all. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And an important thing, they drafted 2 cornerbacks. I want you guys to watch out for one of them, especially Benji Morrison. There were some injury concerns coming out of Notre Dame. That's why he slipped. The highest ceiling of all the rookie cornerbacks. He will see the field, and he will do phenomenal things. Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I love that. And overall, I just love this Buccaneers team. I just feel like year in, year out, they prove people wrong. They're overlooked offensively and defensively, and they continue to show up and play well. I am going to take a group that I think is, man, this could really be bad for me. This could be bad for me, but it could also be great. I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh.
Now, they lost a lot of juice. They lost a lot of juice, okay? But they also imported a lot of juice, all right? They've got a new coach there in the building on the defensive side of the football. 4 years ago, this guy left his office in Santa Clara. His name is Robert Saleh, okay? And Robert Saleh don't play. I think you understand that. Now, Nick Bosa doesn't play either, and that's actually a problem for the San Francisco 49ers. They need him to play if they're going to have success. Maybe talk a little bit about the pieces that left the building, some of the guys they filled in with. Obviously, Talanoa Hufanga, you discussed earlier. Charvarius Ward, I'm not sure if we've talked about him. But they drafted They reloaded, and we're going to get introduced to some new guys in San Francisco.
Yeah, we are. They lose Leonard Floyd. They lose Javon Hargrave. They lose Drake Greenlaw to Denver. But at the end of the day, you have Nick Bosa.
None of these guys were healthy.
None of them. You're right. And they still have Nick Bosa. You still have Fred Warner, best off-ball linebacker in the NFL. You still have Diamador Lenore. And they add Justin Pinnock from the New York Giants, who, whether it's nickel, whether it's safety, he'll find a way to the field. A reach, but if we look back and say San Francisco turned some heads and didn't come last place in the NFC West like everybody's saying, I'm going to point to you and say you called it first.
I'm just saying they know how to play defense, okay? And there's some guys getting new opportunities in there. Fresh blood is often the better blood.
Well, if we're rolling the dice, let me roll the dice on the New England Patriots, because if this thing comes together, if this defense comes together, it's going to be something special. I feel New England is best equipped to push Buffalo out of that AFC East crown. I understand what New England looked like last year, but New England's going to run the ball and they're going to play some dang good defense, and they're best equipped to keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. The Patriots had my favorite offseason. They really did. They win the Milton Williams sweepstakes. They bring in Harold Landry. They bring in Carlton Davis. They bring in depth guys like Kayvon Chaisson, 5 sacks a year ago. There's really no weakness to this Patriots defense, and that's what's special. Do they have the best linebacker unit, the best DB unit? Probably not, but there's no weakness, and that is how you start building something. Harold Landry has been one of the most consistent edges in all of the league, and if they can remain healthy, Carlton Davis on one side, young Christian Gonzalez on the other side, Kyle Duggar back there. Good luck passing on this team. Give me the New England Patriots. And new defensive coordinator, Terrell Williams.
Mike Vrabel is going to make an immediate impact on that culture, on that locker room, in the same way that Jim Harbaugh's Chargers hit the ground running in Los Angeles last year. I really believe that. You talk to guys who have played for Vrabel. They all respect him. They all get juiced up when they talk about him. And with the people that he brought into the building, that team got real juice in terms of talent. They've got the quarterback. They've got some defensive studs right now. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And you know who else has a quarterback and has some defensive studs? The Chicago Bears.
Okay. I was waiting for it.
And this, me on any other day, I probably would have jumped and got him at 14. But I got him at 20 here. Now, you got to keep in mind everything that transpired last year. Usually for these teams, I look at total defense last year, their ability to stop the run, their third down percentage, things of that nature. But I threw out the baby with the bathwater. Is that what they say? As it pertains
yes.
to this stat. I've never used that phrase, and I just did, and I hope I used it right because it involves throwing babies out.
You did.
That's terrible. That's not the point. Is that the Chicago Bears had a lot of distractions last year. This year, they go. Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, the offense will be dialed in. There will be no more questions about leadership on the offensive side of the ball. That's handled. And on the defensive side of the ball, they need to get stuff out of their big-time guys. When I think about this group, I start from the back to the front because I really like their back end. And you can talk about some of these coverage guys, coverage elements. Jalen Johnson, fantastic. All-pro level player. Tyreek Stevenson, obviously people know him from the boneheaded stuff, but he's going to have the opportunity to solidify himself as a real player. Kyler Gordon, great player, a lot of versatility. Kevin Byard, and then you've got Jaquan Brisker. Now, Jaquan Brisker might be the most fun guy to watch play in the entire defense, but the issue is he's so much fun that he hits his head so damn hard. Games. I love watching Jaquan Brisker play. I respect this guy, but man, oh man, got to find a way to stay on the field. When he's on the field, they can be so multiple. They can pressure you so many different ways. This secondary gets a lot of sacks. This is what I like about this group. And with Dennis Allen, you're probably going to see more of the same. Grady Jarrett, Deo Adengbo in the building. I need Grady Jarrett to be healthy because if he's healthy, this is a really good group. And Montez Sweat, I need to see big-time sack numbers. The numbers that were paid for, I need to see because the linebacker core is Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards. That's a really good unit. So you're looking at a good back end, a solid middle. I need the front end to step up.
Jaquan Brisker, Penn State safety. If you draft a safety from Penn State, they are just a game wrecker. He just wrecks himself, like you mentioned too often. If he can stay healthy and ball out, he'll have a nice payday by the end of the year. And as for that linebacker room, look for rookie Ruben Hippolyte out of Maryland to round out that starting linebacker unit. Let's go to the AFC, and let's go with the Indianapolis Colts. I said Matt Eberflus is going to rectify some things and clean up his name. So is Lou Anarumo. Hot name for a hot defense in Cincinnati, and then the wheels have fallen off. He has some new threads, and he's wearing the Indianapolis Colts blue. The first thing they did was sign Cam Bynum. We mentioned that with Minnesota, how Minnesota is going to miss Cam Bynum. Cam Bynum is going to prove that he can play safety in a traditional system. Of course, Brian Flores, that 3-safety chaotic amoeba. Cam Bynum has the skill set to prove that he can play in a standard defense. How about signing Travarius Ward from San Francisco? Travarius Ward needed a fresh start, and Indianapolis is going to be perfect for him. And the young D-line is the main reason I'm taking this. In Leatu Latu, Samson Ebukam, and then more established guys like Kwity Paye and DeForest Buckner, rookie JT Tuimoloau, and of course the tackling machine at linebacker Zaire Franklin. Give me the Indianapolis Colts.
You're really making them sound, and I mean they are better than than people think, because they've got a lot of studs up there on the front, in the front seven in particular. One group that really bolstered their front seven in particular were the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this was kind of a middle-of-the-pack team last year in terms of defense, but you could see some clear opportunities to improve, and they addressed those this offseason. They bring in Josh Sweat. They got Walter Nolan from Ole Miss at number 16, and then 6 of their 7 picks, Brock, were on the defensive side of the ball. They're really banking on that offense changing gears, dropping it into a higher gear, lower gear, whatever whatever they do with gears. They want their offense to play better. And they said, we're just going to invest in the defense and let the offense continue to develop. I like this group. I really do. When you got a group that can score points like the Cardinals, you have the opportunity to get after people at the line of scrimmage.
I like it. And while there is no defense that will be more dependent upon the success of their rookies, like you mentioned, almost their entire draft was defensive guys, I'm always going to show love to defensive coordinator Nick Rallis, and it has nothing to do with the fact that we played in college together. So go Arizona. Okay, we're looking for some value here, and Kyle,
I got one. Don't take it. Don't take
Kyle,
it. Kyle,
I'm sorry, man. You know who I'm taking because you mentioned them earlier. You had your chance. You passed them up. Please forgive me. I'm taking the New York Giants. I'm sorry. I'm taking the New York Giants, and it's all because of one name, and that name is Abdul Carter. You have Dexter Lawrence. Sexy Dexy is maybe the most underappreciated defensive lineman in the NFL, up there with Jeffrey Simmons, right? When you have your hand in the ground, when you're not the one who gets all the sacks, you get overlooked. As long as he is there, they're going to have a shot. You have Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and Brian Burns as a 3-man rotation. What are you supposed to do? Good luck. Any offensive tackle. They also had a sneaky move, snagging Javon Holland away from Miami.
Yes.
Javon Holland, true playmaker, sideline to sideline guy. Nothing gets behind him. Give me the New York Giants. Kyle, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
You know what? I love that pick. And I'm a sucker for a group that really gets after the pass rusher. And this group is going to get after the pass rusher. I know it's OTAs. I know it's minicamp. I know it's, late spring, early summer, but I've seen some clips coming out of New York.
Scary.
You saw the clips?
Yes.
Bro, Russell Wilson is getting bounced around like a 1987 pinball in mesh shorts, and he's got 4 first-round picks bearing down on him. These offensive linemen are saying they're Hail Marys. They're trying to make it happen, but it's just not happening for the offensive line in New York right now. The defensive line is going to ruin practice time and time again. Okay, so the Giants are off the board. Let me get the Giants off the board.
Sorry.
Delete. Okay. This is where it gets interesting, okay? We are at the 24th pick, and now it's just kind of like more of an opinion piece here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start throwing darts. I'm going to say who I trust the most. Okay, my 23 team, not good, definitely not good. Give me the Miami Dolphins at 23 or 20,
Oh,
24. Give me the Miami
please
Dolphins
explain. Okay.
just because the 5 teams that I have right below them that I could also pick, I don't trust them either. Now, we're going to talk about the Falcons. They address some things. Bengals got new leadership on defense, but they don't have Trey Hendrickson signed. The Raiders have Max Crosby. That's awesome. Can we do other stuff? They help the offense a lot this offseason. The Commanders, can you repeat the Disney movie twice? I just don't know if you can. Falcons couldn't get after the quarterback. I'm going to go with the Dolphins because they can get after the quarterback when they're healthy. And that's really the only explanation I'll give you. And I know that Jalen Ramsey wants out.
Yeah.
But, just go sack the quarterback, and the DBs don't matter.
I mean, in regards to Zach Sealer and rookie Kenneth Grant, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson had a great rookie year. It's just a matter of health, but they can rush the passer. Jalen Ramsey's gone. Hurts. Javon Holland leaving Hurts, but they signed Ifeatu Melifonwu from Detroit to fill in for that safety spot. Miami Dolphins. Well said. I'm going to pick a team that you had mentioned, and they can't stop the run for anything, but give me the Washington Commanders. Defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. on a Dan Quinn team. Yeah, I'll take it. They released Jonathan Allen. They re-signed Bobby Wagner, Hall of Fame Bobby Wagner. The guy's going to play until he's 50 years old and get 100 tackles every single year. This D-line is better than they showed. The numbers do not back up how good Dorrance Armstrong is, how good Deron Payne is, how good Javon Kinlaw is, who's over there now. Dietrich Wise Jr., Cleveland Farrell, Johnny Newton, Eddie Goldman. There are names who you're just waiting for them to crack through that ceiling that's above them. And if they can, it'll help out those linebackers that certainly cannot stop the run. It also comes down to Marshawn Lattimore being healthy. Everyone was side-eyeing that trade because he wasn't healthy at the time. If he can be healthy, look, there's a lot of ifs with Washington, but if the ifs become true, I'm fine with Washington here.
I mean, with Dan Quinn, anything is possible. It doesn't matter who's on the field. They're just going to go out and compete and play sound football. And we saw that last year. Granted, they do have some really good players, particularly on the second level. We saw a lot of their AA mug packages come to fruition last year, and they got home a lot. I'm going to go with a group. I'll tell you that much. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons.
Oof, yeah. Okay.
I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons, who made some changes to the trim and some molding in their defensive room. Okay, it's kind of a new look, but there's
is changes to the trim a phrase, or did you just make it up? Because I like that.
I just came up with it.
That's good. That's got legs. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like the rooms are still the same dimensions.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay.
Still got couches where the couches were. But, the crown molding, we added some crown molding. We painted the window.
Spruced it up a little bit. I like it.
Spruced it up. The Atlanta Falcons, obviously on the back end, Jesse Bates III, AJ Terrell, fantastic football players. You're going to need to get a lot out of the players you bargained for this offseason on the defensive front. And your draft stuff's going to have to come to fruition as well. But with the uptick in offense that I think is going to happen with Michael Penix Jr., you're going to get the opportunity to kind of have the game plan be in your court. You're not going to be playing on the defensive side of defense. You're going to be a little bit more offensive. I like this group.
Okay. And I like both rookies that I'm expecting to make a big impact there. Jalen Walker, who for some reason they let wear number 11, which is insane.
Yep.
Now you can't retire Julio Jones's number. Okay, whatever.
Yep. It should be criminal.
It should be. And Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame. Expect him to see the field in an open safety spot next to Jesse Bates. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars. New defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanelli. Look, Jacksonville's feet are to the fire. Not that anyone's getting fired in their first year, just in a matter of, hey, this fan base expects success now. Because they showed how good they could be when everything is aligned. This isn't some, hey, go out there and win 3 games, then it'll be fine. No, there is an expectation regardless of how badly the train kind of fell off the tracks. Travis Hunter, He's going to be out there probably on third downs to start the season. And then as the season goes on, he's good enough to have a starting spot back there. Going to be exciting to watch him. Going to be exciting to watch defensive end Josh Hines Allen. 8 sacks after a 17.5 sack season. That's a pretty big drop off. See if he can get back to form. And how about my favorite player, Foye Oluwakin, 100 or more tackles in the past 5 seasons. The pieces are there. We'll see if defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli can put them together.
I like that. And I feel like that whole team's going to have a boon this year with the new staff and obviously the superstar from Colorado on the offensive side of the ball. How are they going to use him? Are they going to use him on both sides? I'm going to name a team that probably wishes they could use one of their guys on both sides of the ball and maybe both sides of the defensive line. That's Max Crosby and the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, I've got them here at 28. Look, this Raiders team has the opportunity to change their identity because of the fresh blood they have. I say new blood, but it's a 75-year-old man in Pete Carroll. He's essentially like a young man. He comes in, he brings great energy. You know that the culture is going to be right in Las Vegas, and that's one thing that's always in question with the Raiders. They've got the culture right. They've got a quarterback now. Fans actually have a guy they can say, we're going to get our quarterback's jersey instead of having to buy 4 Velcro jerseys with different names and numbers so you can change it up every week. They have that. They've got Chip Kelly on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to score points. Finally, this Raiders team is going to have some juice offensively. Well, that lends itself to getting after the quarterback. I've said that at a few stops in this show today about defensive fronts and how they pair with their offenses. Well, look, if the Raiders sucked on offense, the defense wouldn't be as good. But now you get a guy like Max Crosby, a guy like Christian Wilkins, the opportunity to go win in a passing down. I like that. And, I can't really say I like it too much because they're at 28 here, but I got the Raiders.
Yeah. And let's remember, Christian Wilkins was injured most of last year. If he can remain healthy, that takes pressure off of Crosby. Linebacker room's kind of a piecemeal, right?
They lost Spillane.
They lost Spillane, who I love, who I somehow didn't even mention when I was talking about the Patriots.
The most valuable guy ever.
Oh, another incredible off-ball linebacker. They're going to replace him with Jermaine Pratt, who got cut from Cincinnati. They got Landon Roberts. Second-year Tommy Eichenberg. We'll see what can happen with Vegas. Let's go over to Nashville. How about the Tennessee Titans? Look, they lose Mike Vrabel. They lose Harold Landry. They had a disappointing year. They're going to have a rookie quarterback who's throwing to a couple of guys, I guess, if you will. They're going to be on the field a lot. But here's why I'm taking them. A defensive front of Sebastian Joseph Day, Devondre Sweat, and Jeffrey Simmons. Cal, there are some teams that are playoff caliber that would kill for that trio. Yep. And if you have that up front, you have a shot. Last note on them, look out for rookie Kevin Winston Jr., safety out of Penn State. Like we talked about with Jaquan Brisker, you always draft a safety out of Penn State. Do it every single year. Kevin Winston Jr. is a true ball hawk, the closest thing to Tyrann Mathieu since Tyrann Mathieu. Outside of Antoine Winfield Jr. Antoine Winfield Jr. is the closest thing to Tyrann Mathieu, but then it'll be Kevin Winston Jr. So give me Tennessee here.
I like that. And you talked about the group that a lot of teams would die for, and I truly believe that. And I think that if you have a front like that, you can go win a lot of games just with that group. I'm going to be going with a team that has no option but to get better. And I wrote in the wrong team here in my doc, but it is the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
They've got no choice but to play better
can't get worse.
And here's the problem. We can all agree on this. We love Lou Anarumo. I was there in Kansas City when he had answers to the test for the Kansas City Chiefs, and one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play, Patrick Mahomes. But that wasn't the reason we lost. We lost because we couldn't stop Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
Sure.
That being said, nobody can stop them still. And if this defense can just wake up and open their eyes, they should be hopefully not at the bottom of the barrel. Give me the Bengals. They will get a little bit better defensively, and Trey Hendrickson will be on the field week 1.
Here's why I hate the Bengals and why I root for Joe Burrow's sake. I root that this organization is sold to the highest bidder. It's like they don't want an NFL team.
Yeah.
So your defense takes a historical leap backwards last year. And instead of taking care of your phenomenal defensive end and your rookie defensive end first round, who's just asking you to give him what you gave the other first round guys in
Yep.
recent years. So now both of your starting defensive ends aren't there after the worst year defensively that you've. It's like I want to sit down the family and just say, you don't have to own an NFL team if you don't want to. Like no
Yep.
one's. It's
sell it and invest it, and it'll be worth even more.
Dude,
if you
this
like
is
being
like a
rich, you could be
hostage
richer,
situation.
and the Bengals would be good.
You ever go to somebody's birthday party and they're just complaining, it's too hot outside, it's too cold inside, I don't like this food. Like, dude, go home. I don't think you want to be here. I don't know if the Bengals ownership wants to even be here. I cannot stand it, and it's so unfair to Joe Burrow and that offense that deserves a whole lot more than they're getting. Whew. Okay, we're down to the last two.
They're vampire energy.
Perfectly said, sir. Perfectly said. Okay, so we're down to the last two. NFC South, not a shocker. Give me the Carolina Panthers. And I guess we can just go ahead and talk about both of these at the same time, because it's more, I'm more so not picking the Saints than I am picking the Panthers. So Brandon Staley is the new defensive coordinator for the Saints. He likes to run a lot of 3-4. It's a 3-4, 4-3 hybrid. But the Saints currently have 4-3 personnel. And I'm always side-eyeing when you have guys like Cam Jordan who have their hand in the dirt as a 40 front defensive end. Now has to kind of play stand-up linebacker. It's
a guy with like 100 sacks in the NFL is being asked to go.
It's weird, man. It's clunky, and I don't believe they're good enough on the back end to help that out. They cashed out Chase Young. I'm always going to root for a guy getting paid, but it kind of turned my head a little bit. You have Demario Davis, you add Justin Reed back there with Tyrann Mathieu. They have guys that can make plays, but I can't get over going from 4-3 to 3-4. Carolina Panthers, they cashed out JC Horn, made him the highest paid corner at the time, and sure, I will never not root for a guy getting paid, but for a guy, I have it here in through 4 seasons, JC Horn has only played in 37 games and has had 5 interceptions. He just can't stay healthy. Now, maybe in practice, they're seeing things that we haven't seen yet. Sure. A lot of question marks. Final thing, 2 rookies to watch for Carolina. Outside linebacker Nick Scorton out of A&M, but spent most of his time at Purdue, where he was a menace for every Big Ten team.
He's really strong.
He's a monster. And rookie safety Lathan Ransom out of Ohio State. True headhunter, old school safety. Look for both of those guys. But I'm taking Carolina, which leaves you the Saints.
Okay, so if I'm going to talk about the Saints, I'll say this. And there was a really well put monologue about the philosophy in terms of what your scheme is versus who your team is. And I think it's telling of the New Orleans Saints of the direction they're going to go. Obviously, people have them pitted to be the number 1 pick in next year's NFL draft. I think that this year, regardless of who is on the roster, regardless of what their strengths or weaknesses are, Kellen Moore and this defense with Brendan Staley on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to say, these are the things we're doing. We're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. We're going to figure out and address our issues moving forward. I think this is kind of like, I hate to say it, this is a leap year for the New Orleans Saints. That's why we find him at 32nd. Yeah. In defense, that's why we find him with probably a bridge quarterback this year that'll lead to the number 1 pick next year. And that's really how it goes, guys. That's 1 through 32. Brock, this was so much fun. It's so nice to see your face. I can't wait to spend every Sunday morning with you in New York City at the top studio on CBS Sports. So check us out. Brock, thank you so much, man. You got any messages you want to leave the fans before we get you out of here?
Yeah.
Any words of wisdom?
If anybody can explain to me what happened in the recent Mission Impossible, I would love to understand. I've seen every Mission Impossible. It's my favorite movie franchise. Seen it twice. I'm gonna go see it a 3rd time. I loved the movie, but I can't tell you what happened. So when people say, "Wait, you love that movie?" I said, "I loved it." And they said, "What happened?" I said, "I don't know." So if somebody can explain to me what happened in that movie, I say, "Hey man, Tom Cruise is jumping out of planes. He's been doing it for 20 years. Just let him do his thing." But I would love.
I'm still trying to figure out Interstellar.
Still working out. Well, good luck, because I don't think they're. Matter of fact, I'm still working on Inception. I think
so
that
the
came out
guy's
before this.
old. So the guy's younger than his. Hey, Brock, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so
Anytime,
much.
man.
I'll see you on Sundays, my friend. And until next time, keep pushing.